Sintel is the title of a short movie made by the Blender Foundation a couple of years ago, and it's also the name of the main character. Now, I was lucky enough to be part of the team that made the movie, and I remember we were asked just when we finished the movie if anybody wanted to make a 3D printable version of Sintel back then. And even though everybody thought it was a good idea, nobody stepped up to do it. That's basically because it is quite a big job. But for this DVD, I thought I'd have a go, and I took Sintel to make a printable model. You can see the final result here. I finished. She's printed in full color, and she's actually available as well. And I'd like to show you how I did it. Now, I did record the entire process of how I did it, but it was many hours, too many to put on this DVD. So what I'd rather do is show you how to do it, or show you how I went about it by showing you the details. So I'm not gonna do all the work and let you look over my shoulder. Instead, I will show you how I did it. And to start with, maybe the biggest trick is to have a look at your DVD. If you happen to have the DVD, you can download most stuff. There are 4 discs in here. 2 of them are just video, one NTSC and one PAL. And then we have a data and extras DVD. Now, we need the data to get to the Sintel model, but first you need to get into the extras DVD. In the extras DVD, you can find a version of Blender as it was used for the film, and that is what we want. I have it here as well. I downloaded it from the DVD onto my computer, just put it in a folder. I'm on Windows, so I took that version, and I can run it straight on my computer. You don't need to install Blender, you can just put the folder somewhere. So it's opening now. This is the version of Blender as I used it. And the trick is we just want to make sure that if we open the Sintel file, it works exactly the same as it did or as it was intended back then. The second thing you want to do is then get onto the data DVD, and from the data DVD we want to get to the Sintel file. But of course the Sintel file isn't a standalone file really. It uses textures that were made elsewhere, for instance. So what I did was I looked for the characters folder. We have the characters folder. I have it here next to the Blender folder. This is the characters folder, chars it was called. It is in the data DVD, and I just copied the entire folder. I think the entire folder is almost 2 gigabytes, but you know, hard disks nowadays are big. I just copied the entire folder over to my disk, and then you should be able to go to that folder. I'm there already, and I can just let's see, I have lots of versions here already. There should just be a sintel.blend. Ignore all of these. They are the versions I made during the process of making different changes to make it printable. I will open the file, and this is the Blender file as it opens in this version of Blender. Let's see what we have in this file. First, I want to clean up this interface a little bit so we can see what we've got. I don't need all this stuff on the left. I can get rid of it, and I want to see what is on the layers in this blend file. The first one has a copy of Sintel, but this is the one that the animators use. This is a very low poly stand-in version that runs really quick in your interface, but you can't use it for rendering or for printing. Second layer has the high poly Sintel, but not all of her. So we do need all of this stuff. Have a look at the third layer, has her eyeballs. Well, we do want eyes in Sintel, so we do want that. Then there is her hair. The hair is a special case because it's made of particles, and we want to replace the particles by something that is printable. The particles are not. Then there is what we call the deformation cage. It's also sort of a simple version of the model, and it's just got very few points to it. It is used to make nice deformations when they animate the character. We just leave it where it is. This one has her backpack. I didn't use it, but it's nice to have it there. Next layer has her walking stick, or a stand-in for the stick. It's not the actual stick. That is somewhere in a props folder. I appended that later from that folder. Then there's an empty layer. We have a layer with a whole bunch of cameras and lights. We can leave them there. Then there is a layer with a skeleton, but this is called a meta rig. It's not the skeleton used for the actual animation of Sintel, so we just ignore it and leave it there. Then on to the bottom layers. Layer 11 has her actual rig. We do need that because you want to put her in a nice sort of pose. Then her clothes, so this is combined with the layer above it, combines to Sintel. And something you see here, this is you might see this more often if you actually look into animation files. See, all of this is warped and it's weird and it doesn't match up. This is because she has a rig on her that deforms the mesh, and it doesn't always update correctly. Simplest way to update one of these is to go to the next frame. One thing, I can go to the bottom, go to the next frame, and everything updates. So if you see things that are out of line, that don't match, just update your frame. I'll go to the next layer. That has her winter coat. I didn't use her winter coat. I would actually say, if you are making Sintel printable, go use the winter coat, because it saves you a lot of work. I did all the detail to get her vest and her singlet and everything. Next one is a collar. Don't really look at it. Then there's an empty layer. There's a layer with the rig for her backpack. So here's the backpack. Here is the rig. We go on to the next one. I think it has, you see, a couple little empty objects that do something with her eyes. Just ignore them. Next layer is empty, another empty one, and on the final layer, usually people use layer number 20, the last layer, to have just to keep junk there. And in this case, these are all the shapes used for the skeleton on layer 11. So the skeleton here isn't just bones, but it has all sorts of funky round shapes. Well, all those shapes are not default in Blender, they are kept on layer 20. This is all the stuff we have. So what we really need is, we want to use the rig to pose her. We want all of this nice mesh stuff, and we need some eyeballs with the lights for the eyeballs maybe, and we want some hair. This all should work really nicely. Next, I want to do a little test to see if we can render Sintel at all.